Is RoboCop Rogue City worth playing in 2024? First of all, Rogue City occurs between RoboCop 2 and 3. As for the story itself, I think it's a pretty strong story personally. I thought it was compelling and captivating. I think the story was one of those aspects, to be honest, which kept me playing the game, and I was always looking forward to going back to playing it. According to How Long to Beat, the average time it should take to complete the main story is 10 hours and 45 minutes, although if you do it at a leisurely pace, then it should be about 13 hours and 20 minutes. The story isn't really short, but it's not that long either, I suppose, but I think it's a good length. I think it's pretty well paced. Rogue City is more of a linear third-person shooter. It's not open world, but every level is a wide open space, I suppose, a large area that you can explore, and you can also do side missions. At the moment, I've only played through New Game, because there is a New Game Plus as well. At some point, I will replay the game in that mode. I also like how the game incorporates RPG elements, one of those being the fact that you have conversations with dialogue choices. Your choices will have consequences in the story and will also affect the ending you end up seeing. I did find the game challenging overall, so it would have taken me longer to complete the story, and I believe I was playing on normal difficulty too. I will say, due to the amount of choice that you are given in the conversations, for example, and so on, that does allow the game to be quite replayable. You could replay the story multiple times, to be honest, just to be able to choose the different dialogue options in every conversation. What consequences will this choice have, and so on. Peter Weller returned to voice RoboCop in this game. He played RoboCop in the first and second films of the trilogy. He definitely still sounds the part, and he puts on a good performance. RoboCop Rogue City is a first-person shooter, and I believe the gameplay feels satisfying. I think it's just really cool to be able to play as RoboCop, use his weapons, such as the Auto 9, his main pistol, which you can also upgrade as well. There's an upgrade mechanic, which is quite complex, to be fair. It took some getting used to, and I didn't really use it much at first, but I think if I had used it and upgraded the Auto 9 a bit earlier on in the story, I think that would have helped me out in earlier situations where I was really struggling. I mean, I managed to eventually pull through in those firefights, but it took me way longer than maybe it should have done, really. It's a mechanic I like, to be fair, one that you have to dedicate a bit more time to, and you can collect in each level a lot of different, I suppose, upgrades for the Auto 9. Different ones will provide different buffs for the weapon, as well as increasing the weapon's stats. It's interesting because there are certain gameplay aspects which are similar to another game I've played, which I have done a Is It Worth Playing video for on the channel, that game being GoldenEye 007 Reloaded. I know a lot of third-person shooters do let you do this. For example, Rogue City lets you pick up other weapons, so you can, switch up the other weapon that you have aside from the Auto 9, which you always have, and which has infinite ammo. And it also has a mechanic that GoldenEye 007 Reloaded has too, which is being able to bust open a door like in GoldenEye 007 Reloaded, and then there's a slow motion sequence which probably lasts about 5 seconds like in GoldenEye 007 Reloaded, where you have 5 seconds to kill all the enemies in the room, or as many as possible, which does help you out. You can also use his fists to absolutely pummel enemies as well. His punches are really powerful too, and they usually occur in slow motion too, but I think that is utilised well. It also doesn't take long to gain a skill point in this game. It's only 1000 XP to gain a skill point each time. That never changes, and there are a bunch of skills which you can upgrade. When they are upgraded to a certain point, you might gain a new ability, for example. RoboCop can also repair himself with an OCP recovery charge. They can be collected throughout the game in each level. There's usually quite a few in each one. There are also, I think they're called power couplings in different areas of each level too, where RoboCop can interact with them and then is able to heal himself completely back up to 100%. Going back to the Auto 9, you can really upgrade it to the point where it's just a really powerful weapon. Later in the story, it will be able to rip through enemies, and yes, it will be way more effective compared to the start of the game. There is also a New Game Plus mode, so that is a way to replay the game with all of your skills and abilities. Having New Game Plus just further increases the replayability. That's a mode I'm looking forward to playing. The soundtrack is faithful to the films. It really suits the game. I think all the soundtracks are new and original. Even so, I suppose there's certain tracks which do sound familiar, I suppose, if you have watched the films. Again though, the soundtrack just added to the experience. I quite like the sound design overall too. Is RoboCop Rogue City worth playing in 2024? I definitely think it is. Even if you aren't a RoboCop fan and you haven't watched any of the films, you can go straight into the game and have a right blast. It'd been ages since I'd watched the films and I decided to go into the game. I really enjoyed it. The story is really good too. Even on the normal difficulty, it is challenging. Something I didn't mention before is that the game isn't the most polished. Despite the lack of polish and also performance issues you could encounter on PC, for example, with frame rates dropping during firefights, you might have some performance issues because of the fact that the game isn't the most well optimized, but I still think it's definitely worth a try. I'd like to think that you will have a really good time with it. Thanks for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to give this video a like if you did, and maybe even subscribe to see more content like this. Enjoy the rest of your day, and that is all.